Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and today we've got the DM test drive of the 2022 Genesis G70. I love the facelift for the G70 here in 2022. In fact, I love all of Genesis's design language these days. All their SUVs, all of their sedans, everything. It just looks cool. It's different, but recognizable. They're just doing such a great job. I mean, look at this almost gunmetal-y, like bronzy gunmetal finish instead of just a chrome. A little different. Those wheels, I'm pushing it with the painted black, but coming back to the rear and these split taillights, the font. I think Genesis is just doing a really cool job in the styling department. Now, as you see back here, this is the 3.3 liter turbocharged all-wheel drive model, so it's just about the top G70 you can get. This thing is fast, this thing is capable, it's got an excellent chassis, and we're gonna see all of that once we get out on the road. Quick check in the trunk. Pretty standard fare sedan trunk. You do have a compact spare tire under here, and I like this net. If you want to do some hooning with some luggage in the back, then you can do that. But it's not a power trunk, at least on this sport model. Maybe on the luxury trim, you get a power trunk. Back seat is not exactly where the G70 is meant to be enjoyed. Coming on back here, you do see the cool red seat belts and the awesome red cross stitching. This does have the Prestige package, so we've got Napa leather that feels very nice. Nice front space. As a 5'10" person, I do have knee room, I do have headroom, but my head is starting to touch the top if I lean way back. I could be back here for a few hours without too much problem, especially with this flip-down armrest featuring some cup holders and some cool accents. Got a USB-A port and some vents as well. And fun little Genesis feature, you can move the passenger seat from here, so that rear person can get a little bit more room. I like all of these accents. I like the speaker grille. I like this little bit of kind of aluminum look. They really did a great job with the styling on this thing. But being a sports sedan, it's meant to be enjoyed from the front, and it certainly doesn't disappoint up here either. Let's get it fired up. You can see the gauges come to life. You've got one physical gauge on the left and then one fake gauge on the side, but they both provide kind of an analog sensation. I think they did a good job with it. I will say the center screen is starting to look borderline dated. It's not quite as bad as what they put in the Kias, but it's certainly not as dynamic as what you're getting in some of the German brands. No panoramic sunroof as well. It's a decently sized sunroof, but we did hear some people complain that they couldn't get a full one. This top trim G70 is featuring a 15-speaker Lexicon sound system. If you want to see an individual review on that, we do have that in the description. We also have a highway fuel economy test where this did only okay. No rotary knob for the infotainment screen. That's one of my small nitpicks. You do have to reach pretty far up, but the screen responds really well. It's very easy and straightforward to use. It just would be nice, since you have to reach so far, it'd be nice to be able to control it from down here. But instead, you have a big old physical shifter, some wireless device charging, a USB-A port, 12 volt, some cup holders, a little bit of center console storage with another USB-C port. Got a glove box over there. And that is about it. Other than that, just a very handsome cabin. I also really appreciate the layout of the HVAC controls. Very easy to do, all physical. Heated and cooled seats are right on top of each other. It's symmetrical, looks nice, and works well. All right, down into drive. No convoluted system there. Away we go. One of the nicest things about the Genesis is how friendly it seems. Steering is just the right weight. I was just about to say no creaks and rattles, but I heard a little bit of a weird squeaky sound coming from the left. Solid over the speed bump. You can see our screen just shifted into night mode. It is the evening tonight, fitting this in right before the car leaves. You have a head-up display, which works nice, and right now it's just giving me my digital speed. I like that that's all that's there. It's not super convoluted. You also see with our blinker on, we get a blind spot camera coming up in the gauge cluster. I haven't found that to be particularly useful, but I can see where it would be, so I'm glad they have it. Plenty of grunt, 365 horsepower and 376 pound-feet of torque out of this twin turbocharged 3.3 liter V6. Made it up to this 8-speed transmission that you can paddle shift. You cannot shift from the center. I know some people like to do that, so that's something to take into consideration. I don't love the sounds this car makes. It's definitely some artificial piping in here to make it sound a bit more lively, especially when you put it up into Sport or Sport Plus. It's not egregious, it just sounds a little bit vacuum cleanery. Rev it up a little bit, I'll show you what I mean. There's not a lot of character to that sound. Oh, but that rotation is excellent. It is a fun car to drive fast. It responds well, and the steering kind of weights up in these heavier modes, more sporty modes. 8-speed transmission responds well enough to have fun. And I love the way they've tuned the all-wheel drive system. It does shift for you. Even when you're in manual mode. I'm in Sport Plus and it's not holding gears, so that's something to consider. Down loose stones here. Let's see what sort of launch we can get. It's speedy, it's strong. The powertrain goes through the paces. This car is a high achieving student. It wouldn't have the best grades in powertrain. If it was trying to get all A's in chassis, fun, interior, design, powertrain, it would get A in design, A in chassis, A- in features. Well, actually probably B+ compared to some of its luxury counterparts. But oh, this thing is fun. I'm having more fun getting to shoot right now. Just the way they balanced everything is really, really good. If I could have an inline 6 with this car, there'd be virtually nothing to complain about. Another thing that's really neat, if we turn the traction control back on, let's turn it to comfort, is Genesis's active lane keeping. Watch this. We're going to come into this lane. I'm going to get a little green steering wheel telling me that it sees both lane lines. And I am going to safely let go of the steering wheel, and look at that. It's carrying the car right through the lane for me. Nothing I had to engage other than just turning that system on. It'll always be on now. I can switch lanes, go over here, and then it's going to pick the lane right back up. Anytime now. Sometimes it takes a second. There we go. It sees it. It's going to lose it right now, but you don't have to re-engage anything. It just comes right back up. really settle in with the car, it's tough because when you go luxury, you don't often want to be sensible. There's got to be something about the car that really speaks to you, whether it's the badge or something to do with the powertrain or a cool feature it's got. Obviously, Mercedes has all sorts of gimmicks, and BMW builds wonderful engines and transmissions. This car does so many things so well that its gimmick is almost just being the sensible luxury car choice. I mean, when you can pick one of these up for $55, it'd be really hard to justify paying so much more for an equivalent German or maybe Lexus product. I will say that new... Is that a groundhog? What are you doing in the road, groundhog? Get out of here. It's a little guy. He's cute. I will say that with the Lexus IS being so good, the new one, that certainly does pose, I'm not going to say a problem for the G70, but certainly some stiff competition. So in this class, I mean, I personally, and I know a lot of people are probably not going to agree with me on this, I think I would take the Volvo S60 or V60 just because I would appreciate the Bowers & Wilkins audio system more than this Lexicon system. I like the beauty and the design of those Volvo cars. Now, by all means, that 2-liter turbo is nowhere near as good as this engine, but this engine isn't nearly as good as the inline-6 in the BMW M340i, so just me personally, I'd take the Volvo over this, but I would take this over the C300. I would take this over the equivalent 3 Series. I would take this over the A4. TLX would be tough, but I think I would take this over the TLX. I would not take this over the Model 3. I would pick a Model 3 over this. I would take this over the Q50. And what else are we missing? What was I just talking about? The the new Lexus IS. I'd probably... This is more fun than the IS, and I think it's a little more unique. But I'd still probably take an IS, although I'd have to look at the pricing. All right. So, the Genesis G70 looks so much better, drives so great. Genesis has so much right going on with this car. So thank you all so much for watching. If you want to see more on the G70, check the links in the description for our sound system test and our highway fuel economy test. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.